So you are about to complete the fitness assessment. You are presumed fit to participate based on your completion of the FSQ. You may re-accomplish the FSQ if medical concerns have developed since completion, but must do so prior to beginning the fitness assessment. If you experience injury or illness during this assessment, you have the option of being evaluated at the MTF, Military Treatment Facility, but your assessment may still count. If the medical evaluation validates your illness or injury, your commander may invalidate the test results. If the assessment is invalidated, you will be required to retest the following month. At no time will a backdated profile be accepted. Each component requires minimum performance. If for any reason you do not meet the minimum requirements, you are expected to complete the remaining components. Scores for all components are final. The 1-minute push-up is an assessment of muscular strength. Place your palms or fists on the floor. Hands will be slightly wider than shoulder width apart with your elbows fully extended. Your feet may be no more than 12 inches apart and should not be supported, braced, or crossed. Your body should maintain a rigid head-to-heel form. This is the up or starting position. Begin by lowering your body to the ground until your upper arms are at least parallel to the floor, elbows bent at 90 degrees, then return to the up position. Arms fully extended but not locked. This is 1 repetition. Your chest may touch but not rest or bounce on the floor. If you do not come down parallel to the floor, the push-up will not count. Resting can only be done in the up position. You may remove your hands or feet from the floor or bridge or bow your back, but only in the up or rest position. Resting any other body part on the floor is not allowed. If resting occurs in the down position, the push-up portion of the assessment will be terminated and your score will be based on the correct number of push-ups performed up to that point. Your breathing should be as normal as possible. Make sure you do not hold your breath. You will have 1 minute to perform as many correct push-ups as you are able. Your counter will count the correct number of push-ups allowed. They will not count incorrect push-ups. They will tell you what you are doing wrong and will keep on repeating the last number of correct push-ups until you correct the error. The total number of correct push-ups in 1 minute will be recorded as your score. The 2-minute hand release push-up is an assessment of muscular strength. You will begin in the prone position and must ensure your hands are flat on the ground with the index fingers inside the outer edges of the shoulders. This is the starting position. You will push your whole body up from the ground as a single unit to the up position by fully extending the elbows. You will maintain a generally straight body alignment from the top of the head to the ankles. This generally straight position will be maintained for the duration of the exercise. You will bend your elbows to lower the body back to the ground. The chest, hips, and thighs should touch down at the same time. Your head or face do not have to contact the ground. Without moving your head, body, or legs, you will extend both hands out from the body until your arms are fully extended, forming a 90-degree angle between your arms and trunk at the shoulders. Hands must be off the ground. After reaching this position, your elbows bend to move the hands back under your shoulders. You must ensure your hands are flat on the ground with the index fingers inside the outer edges of the shoulders and return to the up position. This completes 1 repetition. Resting can only be done in the up position. You may remove your hands or feet from the floor or bridge or bow your back, but only in the up or rest position. Resting any other body part on the floor is not allowed. If resting occurs in the down position, the hand release push-up portion of the test will be terminated and your score will be based on the correct number of hand release push-ups performed up to that point. The number of successfully completed repetitions in 2 minutes will be recorded as the raw score. The 1-minute sit-up is an assessment of core endurance. Begin by laying face up on the floor or mat. Your feet may extend off the floor or mat, but your buttocks, shoulders, and head must not extend beyond the mat. Bend your knees at 90 degrees with your feet or heels in contact with the floor at all times. Cross your arms over your chest with your open hands or fingers at your shoulders or resting on your upper chest. This is the starting position. When conducting sit-ups, any part of the hands or fingers must remain in contact with the shoulders or upper chest at all times. If a bolted non-portable toe hold bar is used, anchor your feet to the ground by hooking your feet or toes under the bar. Your heels must remain in contact with the ground at all times and the bar cannot move while you perform the assessment. If a toe hold bar is not used, you may request the assessor to hold your feet with their hands or by putting their knees on your feet. The assessor may not anchor you by holding behind the calves or by standing on your feet during the assessment as they could lose balance and step off. You may request a member of the same gender to hold your feet and that request must be granted. Let your monitor know if you need your feet held differently prior to beginning the assessment. From the starting position, raise your upper torso until your elbows touch your knees or thighs. Then lower your upper torso until your shoulder blades contact the floor. This is 1 repetition. Your elbows must touch your knees or thighs at the top of the sit-up, and your shoulder blades must contact the floor and mat at the bottom of the sit-up, keeping any part of your hands or fingers in contact with your shoulders or upper chest at all times. The repetition will not count if your hands or fingers come completely away from the chest or shoulders or if your buttocks or heels leave the ground. Additionally, you may not grab onto your shirt as it makes it difficult to determine if you are maintaining proper contact. Any resting must be done in the up position. While resting, you may not use your knees or any object to support yourself. If there is any resting other than in the up position, the sit-up portion of the assessment is terminated and your score will be based on the correct number of sit-ups performed up to that point. You will have 1 minute to perform as many correct sit-ups as you are able. Your counter will count the correct number of sit-ups allowed. They will not count incorrect sit-ups. They will tell you what you were doing wrong and will keep on repeating the last number of correct sit-ups until you correct the error. The total number of correct sit-ups in 1 minute will be recorded as your score. The 2-minute cross-leg reverse crunch is an assessment of core endurance. You will lie on your back on a flat level surface, legs straight and feet on the ground. Arms are crossed over the chest with open hands or fingers touching the shoulders or upper chest. Hands cannot grab the shirt. The use of an exercise mat is optional for this exercise. This is the starting position. While keeping the lower back on the floor, bring both legs towards the chest while reaching your left elbow across your body to touch your right thigh. Then return to the starting position. This is counted as repetition number 1. While keeping the lower back on the floor, bring both legs towards the chest while reaching your right elbow across your body to touch your left thigh. Then return to the starting position. This is counted as repetition number 2. The repetition will not count if your hands or fingers do not remain in contact with the shoulders or upper chest throughout the assessment, including the rest position. Additionally, the repetition will not count if your lower back lifts off the ground, the elbow does not touch the opposite thigh, or legs do not fully extend when returning to the starting position. The resting position will be the same as the starting position. Note: while performing this exercise, your head does not need to touch the ground. If you move out of place greater than a foot, you will be warned, and if it continues, those repetitions will not count. Your final score is the correct repetitions completed at 2 minutes. The forearm plank will be performed on a flat level surface. An exercise mat may be used. The member must be entirely on or off the exercise mat. The event will consist of maintaining a proper forearm plank position for the maximum time allowed. The PTL will record time with a stopwatch to the nearest second and will announce start as well as 15-second intervals. Members will begin face down on the floor with elbows bent, forearms flat on the floor or mat, with a body in a straight line through the head, shoulders, back, buttocks, and legs. Elbows must be aligned directly below the shoulders at a 90-degree angle between the forearm and upper arm. Hands will either be in fists with the pinky side of the hand touching the floor or lying flat with palms touching the floor. Forearms may be parallel or angled inward, but the hands cannot be clasped together. Feet should be placed hip width apart. Hips must be lifted off the floor with only the forearms, hands, and toes on the floor. Knees are straight, pelvis in a neutral position, and back flat. The back, buttocks, and legs must be straight from head to heels and must remain so throughout the test. Toes, forearms, and fists or palms must remain in contact with the floor or mat at all times, and folding of the hands is not permitted. No other part of the body may contact the floor or the mat. Involuntary muscle spasms, for example, shaking, trembling, or quivering, resulting from maximum exertion during the exercise is anticipated and permitted as long as the proper forearm plank position is maintained. The forearm plank ends when the maximum time for the forearm plank has elapsed or until the last participant stops prior to the maximum time allowed. Any part of the body other than the hands, forearms, or feet touch the floor. If the member lowers their head to their hands, if the member lifts their hands, forearms, or feet off the floor, or if the member does not maintain 90 degrees at the elbow. For example, shifting weight forward or backward on the forearms or toes, decreasing or increasing the 90-degree bend. If the member receives more than 2 corrections on forearm, the 3rd correction will stop the assessment and the time will be recorded. This will be the official forearm plank time for the member.